In the early hours of New Year's Day 2020, Rebecca Hogue, a 29-year-old beautiful woman, returned home from a long shift at a bar. But she discovered that her son, Ryder, was not breathing. Panic-stricken, she called 911 and attempted to resuscitate her son, but it was too late. Rebecca Hogue was born and raised in Oklahoma, a state known for its strong sense of community and traditional values. She grew up in a modest, loving household, surrounded by family and friends who cherished her. From a young age, Rebecca exhibited a nurturing nature, always looking out for her younger siblings and displaying a deep empathy for those around her. Her upbringing instilled in her a strong work ethic and a fierce sense of responsibility, qualities that would later define her as a mother. In her late teens, Rebecca met a man who would become the father of her child. Their relationship, though brief, resulted in the birth of her beloved son, Ryder. As a single mother, Rebecca faced many challenges, but she embraced her role with unwavering dedication. Her life revolved around Ryder, whom she adored more than anything in the world. She often described him as a beautiful, strong, smart, and healthy child. His smile and laughter brought immense joy to her life. Rebecca worked tirelessly to provide for Ryder. She took on various jobs, often working long hours to ensure that he had everything he needed. Despite the demands of her work, she always made time for her son, cherishing every moment they spent together. Friends and family admired her resilience and devotion, noting how she managed to balance work and motherhood with grace. In 2019, Rebecca met Christopher Trent, a man who appeared to be kind and supportive. Christopher entered her life at a time when she was seeking companionship and stability. He quickly bonded with Ryder, and Rebecca believed she had found a partner who would help her raise her son in a loving and stable environment. Initially, Christopher seemed to be everything she hoped for in a partner. He was attentive, caring, and appeared to genuinely love Ryder. As their relationship progressed, Rebecca began to notice small, unsettling signs. Ryder, who was normally an active and cheerful child, occasionally had minor cuts and bruises. When she asked Christopher about these injuries, he dismissed them as typical for an energetic toddler. He assured her that boys would be boys and that such minor injuries were nothing to worry about. Rebecca, trusting Christopher and wanting to believe that her son was safe, accepted his explanations. However, the uneasy feeling persisted. Rebecca's instincts as a mother told her something was not quite right. She began to monitor Ryder more closely and even looked up warning signs of child abuse online. Despite her growing concerns, she found it difficult to believe that Christopher, the man she trusted, could be harming her son. She hoped that her fears were unfounded and that she was simply being overly cautious. In hindsight, Rebecca realized that Christopher had been manipulating her, using her trust and love for him against her. The minor injuries Ryder sustained were early indicators of a much darker reality, one that Rebecca was tragically unaware of until it was too late. Her relationship with Christopher, once a source of hope and stability, would ultimately become the catalyst for an unimaginable nightmare. Rebecca's life took a devastating turn on New Year's Eve 2019. She was scheduled to work a 12-hour shift at a bar, leaving Ryder in Christopher's care. She trusted that Christopher would take good care of her son while she was at work. Little did she know, this decision would lead to a series of events that would change her life forever. That night, as Rebecca worked tirelessly to support her family, Christopher was alone with Ryder. The next morning, when Rebecca returned home, exhausted from her shift, she went to bed with Ryder, who was already asleep. She had no reason to suspect that anything was amiss. However, when she woke up a few hours later, she discovered that Ryder was not breathing. Panic-stricken, she called 911 and attempted to resuscitate her son, but it was too late. Ryder was pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital, The loss of her son was an unimaginable blow to Rebecca. She was overwhelmed with grief, guilt, and confusion. How could this have happened? How could the man she trusted with her child's life be responsible for his death? As the investigation unfolded, the horrifying truth came to light. Ryder had been the victim of blunt force trauma, and Christopher had fled the scene. 4 days later, Christopher's body was found in the Wichita Mountains. He had taken his own life, leaving behind a haunting message carved into a tree. Rebecca is innocent. The discovery of his body and the message he left behind added a chilling layer to the already tragic story. It became clear that Christopher had been abusing Ryder and had ultimately killed him before ending his own life. Despite the evidence pointing to Christopher as the abuser, Rebecca was charged with first-degree murder under Oklahoma's failure to protect laws. These laws hold parents accountable for failing to shield their children from abuse, even if they were unaware of the abuse. Prosecutors argued that Rebecca's internet searches for signs of child abuse indicated she suspected something was wrong but did nothing to protect her son. They claimed that she had a duty to protect Ryder and that her failure to do so made her complicit in his death. Rebecca's trial was a harrowing experience. She was portrayed as a neglectful mother who ignored the warning signs of abuse. The prosecution argued that she had failed in her most fundamental duty as a parent, to protect her child. The defense, on the other hand, painted a picture of a mother who was manipulated and deceived by her partner. They argued that Rebecca had no knowledge of the abuse and that she had trusted Christopher as any loving partner would. In November, the jury found Rebecca Hogue guilty of first-degree murder. They recommended a life sentence, but Judge Michael Tupper showed compassion. He suspended the sentence to 16 months, taking into account the time she had already served. At her sentencing, Hogue expressed profound remorse, saying, "I was so proud of having such a beautiful, strong, smart, healthy child. The only thing in 2 years that has brought me peace is that the man who did this is dead. I know my child is in heaven and that Trent is nowhere near him." Judge Tupper acknowledged the complexity of the case and the emotional toll it had taken on Rebecca. "You do not deserve to die in prison. You have value and you have worth," he told her. His words highlighted the difficult balance between seeking justice for Ryder and recognizing Rebecca's own suffering and remorse. Rebecca's case drew significant attention from the media and women's rights groups. Many argued that Oklahoma's failure to protect laws were disproportionately harsh and often misapplied, punishing mothers in situations where they might also be considered victims. The public debate was intense, with some people empathizing with Rebecca and questioning the fairness of her conviction, while others believed that she should have been more vigilant in protecting her son. The media coverage varied, with some outlets focusing on the tragedy of Ryder's death and Rebecca's subsequent legal ordeal, while others highlighted the broader implications of the failure to protect laws. Women's rights groups rallied around Rebecca, arguing that the law failed to consider the manipulative dynamics of abusive relationships. Rebecca Hogue will spend 13 months in prison, with time already served. Her case has led to calls for reform in how failure to protect laws are applied. Advocates argue that these laws should take into account the complexities of abusive relationships and the psychological manipulation that often occurs. Rebecca expressed her sorrow, saying, "I would do anything to go back and prevent my son's death. The only peace I have is knowing Trent can never hurt another child." Her words capture the profound grief and remorse that have defined her existence since that fateful day. The case has prompted a re-examination of failure to protect laws in Oklahoma and beyond. Lawmakers and advocacy groups are now discussing potential changes to ensure that these laws protect children without unfairly punishing parents who are also victims. Rebecca Hogue's story is a poignant reminder of the complexities of justice and the impact of laws designed to protect the vulnerable. As she prepares to rebuild her life, her case continues to resonate, highlighting the need for careful consideration in the application of the law. The balance between protection and punishment remains a delicate issue, one that Rebecca's case has brought into sharp focus for lawmakers, the judicial system, and society at large. This documentary aims to provide a comprehensive view of Rebecca Hogue's case, emphasizing the tragic loss of a young life, the legal battles that followed, and the broader implications for parental responsibility and child protection laws. Through Rebecca's story, we explore the devastating effects of abuse, the complexities of justice, and the urgent need for reform to prevent similar tragedies in the future.